legend Robert James Fischer in 1972 won the World Chess Championship from Boris Spassky in a well-known match in Reykjavik, Iceland. As a result of that, in 1975, he was supposed to play Anatoly Karpov to defend his title. However, he did not play, and in the next several years, he only played a handful of games against a very weak computer program, Greenblatt program, that was developed in Massachusetts Technology Institute. Finally, in 1992, he did come out of retirement, and he did play another match with Boris Spassky 20 years later. And we're here today with Anatoly Karpov to discuss what happened during those intervening years, why Bobby didn't play, why the two of them never met in a match, and to examine the games from the Fischer-Spassky 1992 match played in Sveti-Stefan. Anatoly, welcome to the show, and we're very interested to have some ideas about your relations with Fischer and what happened in the years after his match with Spassky.
So as everybody knows, we should play our match with Fischer in 1975, and President of Philippines offered fantastic prize for the time, $5 million. Anyhow, match never happened, and Chess World was disappointed, and I believe Fischer was disappointed also about everything what has happened in 1975. And so in 76, 77...
Anatoly said there was a large number of decisive games, a lot of games played, and maybe the consistency was lacking of the match that they played in 72. It was clear that maybe these two aren't exactly the very best players in the world, but at moments they both showed absolute brilliance and showed that they were still capable of producing games of the very highest caliber. Right, Anatoly?
Yes. So this match was still interesting, and so now we want to show you game number 25. It's extremely difficult to play such long matches, especially after you didn't play for 20 years.
So Fischer's playing white. Spassky plays the Sicilian. I guess he'd seen enough of the Ruy Lopez for a while. Now Fischer in this match adopted this kind of strange move order with knight ge2.
So of course, if Black wants to have just little worse position, so you can play e5. You give this square, but then you have good development with d6, g6, bishop g7. But Spassky is not such type of the player to block position. He wants to have active position, and so he plays d6.
So now Bobby goes ahead and plays d4, and after cd4, knight d4, they've reached a normal Sicilian position just by a different move order.
Yes, and then e6. e6.
Played e6, bishop e3, knight f6. And now Fischer showed that he's not completely out of touch with modern day developments, and he played queen d2. And after bishop e7, he played f3. And this is kind of in England became kind of known as a short system or English attack in the Sicilian.
No, but it's more often when white plays like this in neither defense, when this is the position. And so what we see here, this is type of rouser without a6 with knight on c6, but of course f3 and g4 is always dangerous.
So Black played a6.
So most probably here I wouldn't play a6, because then you just transpose the game where you play knight c6, which is not considered so good. Okay.
So Bobby castled. Black castled. And Fischer played g4.
Yes.
And now, at one point, Black's counterplay in general in this variation is to play b5, b4, and go after the white king side. But here, as you pointed out, with the knight on c6, something has to be done there first. And so I guess bishop d7 is one possibility, but in the game, Spassky took, and after bishop takes...
No, bishop d7 he didn't want to play, because in this case, if you play bishop d7 here, then you take the square from the black knight. Then white would play g5.
And then you don't have the natural square on d7.
Yes, then you must put knight passively on e8, and this knight will close rook on f8. So white has fantastic initiative with h4, h5. That's why Spassky just exchange on d4. Bishop takes d4. b5 has been played. g5. Knight to d7. h4. And then Spassky played b4. So you must find counterplay, but maybe b4 is a little bit early because black pieces are not ready, to fight with this idea. Knight a4, idea to make blockade on the queen side and to continue attack on the king side.
Well, this position had been reached previously, and black played queen a5, and the game continued. But Spassky here played a new idea. He played bishop to b7, figuring that it was too dangerous for white to capture this pawn. I guess he thought to play like rook b8 or something, or just queen c7.
So maybe, yes, rook b8 or queen c7.
Or maybe even bishop c6.
No, if you play... no, I mean, here, black should play queen c7 or rook b8. If you play queen a5, then b3, and it's difficult to break. And so after bishop b7, what Spassky did, he simply forgot about move knight b6. And then the point is that black attack without knights is getting weaker. And for white doesn't matter if they have knights or not, because they have good perspective on the king side.
He's simply going to play h5, g6, open files, and come after him.
And so, of course, you have stronger attack with knight, but knight is on the queen side, and so it's useful to exchange knights. And so black cannot take on b6 because queen takes b6, and then the problem is, let's show this variation. Knight takes, queen takes b4, then d5, for instance. Queen takes b6, queen takes b6. Bishop takes b6, and then you can take on e4 because of rook d7. So that's why after knight b6, Spassky had to play rook b8, and then knight takes d7, queen takes d7.
So after queen takes d7, Bobby just played king b1.
King b1, yes.
Queen c7, and now bishop d3. And we can see both bishops are aimed at the black king. So now Spassky played bishop c8. Maybe rook e8 might have been a little better.
Yes, the question is that you can play e5, bishop e3, d5, because white just would take on d5, and if bishop takes d5, bishop takes h7, check. And of course, if you play d5, then after e5, position is very passive, and then white just will win with straight attack. And so it's difficult to decide what to do in the center. And so Spassky played bishop c8, and most probably it was better just to move rook from f8, because now black are not in time. h5.
And here Spassky decided he needed to take some action.
e5, bishop e3.
And now we see his idea with bishop c8 is that he wanted to bring the bishop hopefully to help defend and also to try and get some counterattack. And now Fischer just continued to build up.
So I must say that this position is unpleasant even if you play f4.
Well, that would create the possibility of f5, so he almost has to exchange.
So he has to exchange, bishop takes. And then in such type of positions, normally bishop on e5, or black has knight on e5.
Mm-hmm.
Just to stop
Yes,
activity
we
in
need
the
this
center.
position.
Yes, but we have no knights on the board, and so that's why f4 was also possible. But Fischer plays straight.
And so black played a5.
Black has nothing to do.
Well, we can see it's very slow. White's already on the 5th and has 2 rooks behind. Black's only on the 4th and only has 1 rook behind.
Yes, and so this rook on f8 is disturbing black also.
So Fischer decided to go ahead and charge straight ahead. And now he played bishop f6. But we can see it's already very late, because if he tries to keep things close by capturing and playing h6, then white simply has too much. And he can just simply make the standard piece sacrifice.
Yes, if g takes h6, queen takes h6. And then bishop f6 is the only move. Then g7. And if bishop takes g7.
Well, then you have a couple of ways, but maybe the simplest is queen check because of the pin.
Even queen h7 is also possible.
This is even better.
Yeah.
And then you just absolutely take everything, right?
Yes. Bishop f6. But then Fischer takes on h7.
Well, here Spassky played king over, trying to hide behind the white pawn.
Yes, but there is no another move, because if king takes h7, then f4 is very strong.
Now he's got a real problem. If he takes, then pawn e5 check. And then suddenly we see the quiet bishop come into the game.
Yes, yes. And so if you don't take, then we just play f5. And then we play...
h6 and something gets up.
We just show this motif.
Say bishop.
For instance, bishop c4, and then rook g6, pawn takes g6, h takes g6, king g8, rook h8 check, h8 check, king takes, queen h2 check, and queen h7 mate. They believe that pawn on h7 is good protection for the king, and so they simply play king h8. But the problem that now bishop on f6 is not so good, and so it's disturbing a lot. So bishop g5.
Well, this is black's best defensive piece, which defends this point. So if white eliminates that.
Yes, if bishop would be on f8 instead of rook, then it's not so easy to...
If you had something like this.
To get through.
Mm-hmm.
But bishop on f6, and so white exchanges the bishops.
Well, here Spassky brought the queen over to try and help defend.
Yes.
But now, since he finally knows which file is opened, Bobby just goes ahead and prepares to double on it. Spassky takes, queen takes, and then tries to bring the queen in to help protect the dark squares. And sets a couple of little traps. He threatens to take this.
So rook h to g1. And now
Spassky actually took this pawn.
Yes, he has nothing to do. Then rook takes g7.
And here he went queen back to f6.
So this is a decisive mistake. Spassky should play queen f4. But even though queen takes f4, if you don't exchange on f4, then queen comes to h6. This is good defensive idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's better to exchange on f4.
So you exchange on f4, pawn takes.
Pawn takes, and then maybe b3, stopping these pawns, or h6 first. No, b3 is better. Just b3, and then h6, and then we take on f4 with clear advantage.
So you would just simply play up here, protect this, and then come back and collect this with the rook.
Or even we can bring king to f3 and take this pawn on f4. So queen f6, but then Fischer shows very nice idea how to give mate in such type of positions. He plays h6, Spassky plays a4.
And now Bobby just plays b3 just to stop him for a little bit.
Yes, which is good.
Plays ab3, ab3. And now he tries to vacate with the rook to d8. Maybe he wants to play d5.
Yes, then
Plays here.
queen g2.
Has
And
a
then,
threat.
so queen takes h6 is not good because then we just show this variation. Rook g8 check. King must take on h7. Then rook takes d8. Rook takes d8 and rook h1.
And this is...
So this is the main idea. So white has to eliminate both h pawns.
Basically, you're saying that if white can just get rid of both of these pawns, then the king is over here all by himself, and then rook h1 is...
Yes, yes. And so that's why this is necessary to get rid of both pawns, which Fischer makes easily. Queen g2.
Well, now
Spassky
Spassky doesn't have much to do, so he played here.
And then
Of course, if he tries to, quote, play actively in the center like this, then after pawn takes,
you cannot open
then this bishop
yes.
is open.
Yes.
So Spassky decides just to wait.
And then this is nice.
He
Rook
plays
g8
check.
check. King takes h7. Then rook comes back. King h8.
And
Then another pawn comes to h7. And what we discussed before
is that he simply has no defense now because he will come back check. And when he plays here, then he will play rook over check. When he interposes the queen, then because he's pinned, he plays queen down mate.
Yes. So this was another virtuoso performance by Fischer.